Welcome back, Gundam guys and Gundam gals. PatrickGrade here from GGInfiniteNews.com. This time bringing you part 2 of the video review for the Master Grade Duel Gundam Assaultshroud. So we took a look at the mobile suits already. Now it's time to take a look at all the extra armor that comes with the Assaultshroud, as well as the weapons and equipment. So we'll start off by taking a look at the weapons and move on from there. So here we go. Alright, so for projectile weapons, the Duel Gundam has 3 different options. A railgun, a beam rifle, and a hyper bazooka. For the railgun, its primary function is supposed to be on the shoulder. It pegs into the shoulder with this little movable post here. But you can also put it in the hands if you want to, with the flip out handle here in the back. So it can't hold it like a normal rifle. So other than the handle and the mount here, there are no other moving parts. And pretty much all great, except for the green sticker there in the front for the sights. A lot of nice mechanical detail here. So if you paint it up and get some color separation with paint stuff, you could have a real nice weapon. But as it is, it still looks nice. It has a unique look to it, and all the detail in there is pretty nice. The beam rifle is pretty nice as well, with some extra detail here in the back. It looks like some missiles or something here going on in the back, or maybe some energy packs. And the missile here at the bottom can come off if you want it to. Just pegs into place. And there is a flip down cover for the scope, but mine came off and I can't find it right now, so that's the only really moving part here for the rifle, except for the detachable missile. Again, single color, looks really nice. There's a clear piece here in the front for the scope that you can put an additional sticker over if you want to. Nice detail, of course, but pretty plain as far as color goes. And last up is the hyper bazooka, which is a pretty massive weapon. We get 2 stickers there in the front for the different sensors, and that's it for color. The handle can swivel back and forth a little bit. And the rockets here on the back are stationary, there's no moving parts here. A lot of nice detail. It could definitely use some paint to help spruce it up some, but there's a lot of stuff here to work with if you choose to do so. And a pretty cool barrel there at the end. Alright, so to wrap up the weapons and equipment, you get 2 beam saber handles and beam saber blades. And you also get a standard issue shield. That looks very familiar if you've seen the other shields from Seed Gundam. You have on the back a rotating peg that plugs into the back of either forearm, as well as a handle that could be put away in storage mode, or you can unpeg it and peg it in the opposite way to stand out for the hands to hold on to. And there's a lot of nice detail in the back of the shield as well if you want to take the time to pen line all that and bring out the extra detail there. Alright, so moving on to the Assaultshroud equipment, I'm going to show you how each piece pegs into the appropriate areas. Now you don't have to take everything apart to do this. I just did it this way to make it a little easier for me to show it off. For the legs, you get 2 additional pieces of armor that go on the outside of the leg as well as the shin and upper foot. So to put it on, cover up the upper foot with the shin piece here. It doesn't seem to lock in place very well by itself. But these 2 pegs here peg into the inside of the outer armor. And when you do that, it locks into place really well, so it stays on there pretty securely. So the armor looks pretty cool. A lot of nice panel lining to do if you want to accentuate that detail. Then in the back there's this flap here that comes out a little bit for some thruster movement. And the front of the foot guard here moves up and down a little bit as well. And you can see on the inside of the armor there's a lot of detail there to be panel lined, just like on the shield if you want to do so. And it looks like you can keep it together and still put it on there just fine too. So there's a couple different ways to get it on there. And when it is there, it doesn't seem to hinder the foot movement too much. Maybe a little bit of the upward movement is stopped by it, but nothing too bad. So there are the legs. So the torso comes with 2 attachment pieces, front and back skirt armor. And here in the front you can see these little gray ports here. That's where the new skirts plug into, with these little pegs right here. So the front ones are kind of tricky because you have to get them both lined up and to stay in place. Sort of like that. And the back is a little easier since the skirt is stationary. This seems to be the weakest of the connecting pieces, but if you get it lined up right, it stays in place okay. Just don't be too surprised if the front skirts do fly off with a little bit of movement. But as you can see, it adds some bigger front and back skirts, so it looks kind of cool. So again, just take your time getting everything lined up, and once you do so, it should be okay. Alright, so the chest unit gets a couple different pieces here. On the front of the original chest, you can see these two slots here on the side, and these two things peg into place there. Nice secure connection that way. And then these little pieces go over the shoulders and kind of clip into the back there as well to help secure the armor in both places. So that way the front has a lot more armor on it. The orange piece here can lift up, and this piece can come down to reveal the cockpit, but you can't open it up anymore because the blue interrupts the outside armor from revealing the cockpit hatch. So that's as much as you can do, but that's not too big of a deal. But the shoulders are not interrupted at all by the armor. They can still go up quite a bit, as well as come out from the chest unit, so no interruption in articulation there. And that looks pretty cool. The arms have armor that are mirrors of each other. So take the blue piece here, clip it onto the back where the shield port is, so that still gives you access to the shield port. And the brown piece here comes over the front and locks into place around the outside of that armor. So you have some lower armor there, looks pretty cool. A little color variation there with the orange, the gray, and the blue. The other side's the same. Just like that. Just be aware that when you take this back piece off, the armor underneath it does tend to come off as well, so you have to kind of be careful, or just pull the original armor out of this when you get everything taken apart. So there you go. So the backpack has two larger pieces that attach to it. The largest piece here goes on the bottom, simply slots into place in between the two sets of thrusters. Like so. And then for the top piece, what you want to do is see the area between the gray and the light blue. You want to slide that in between the blue pieces here. So line it up and do it like that. So that way the thrusters are pegged in between the blue and the gray of the upper piece here. So you can see them moving with that as well. It holds in place pretty well. If you don't get it set up quite right, they will pop off and not feel right. So just make sure you get the dark blue in between the gray and the blue on this piece, and you should be okay. So there's no armor or anything extra for the head, it just stays the same. Alright, so here's a look at the Duel Gundam all assault shrouded up with all the extra armor and stuff on the various areas. Overall, it turned out really nice. I think it adds a lot to the overall shape of the Duel Gundam. Much more bulky in the front and to the side. I think the backpack looks really nice as well. The cool angles there with the two different levels of the thruster pads here. Yeah, so everything looks really cool. The only thing I would change really would be the color of the light blue. It looks a little strange when compared to the other colors of the kit, but I guess it works okay. And of course you could always paint it if you don't like that color scheme, but that's about it. And as far as stuff staying on, everything stays on pretty well, except for the front and back skirts. They hold on a very small little peg on each side, so it's kind of easy to pop them off if you're messing around with it too much. For the most part, it looks okay and stays on okay. For articulation, nothing really changes except for in the shoulders. You can't go out and in as much, so you see how the front just popped off there. So for the shoulders, you can't really go in and out as much as you could before, nor all the way up that way as much either. And you can't spin it around either, because the armor interferes with the beam saber handles on the back there. So, but I guess if you're careful with it, you can bring them out to the side and then bring them around that way. So you just have to be careful not to loosen up the arm too much and have it all fall off. It doesn't really add too much weight either, so it does still stand up just fine by itself. But of course you do get the action-based attachment point for the bottom if you want to use that. So all in all, I think the Assault Shroud stuff looks really nice. It helps to add to an already cool looking design. And aside from the light blue color, there isn't much about the overall design that it would change. So let's put some weapons on it and see how that looks. So here's the Duel Gundam with all the armor and most of the weapons in hand. As you can see, the railgun looks pretty cool here on the shoulder, and it can move around quite a bit. If you don't have the beam saber handles sticking up, you can get a full 360 there, and it can rotate up and down, and a little bit side to side, so that's pretty cool. The new trigger finger hands here work pretty well for the rifle, although the additional piece here does get in the way of having a lot of posability out of it. But you can see it holds in place pretty well, although it can get loose kind of easily. So it isn't perfect, but it works okay. And the handles for the beam saber blades stay in place pretty well in the hands, like that, so that looks pretty cool. And the shield goes around the outside of the forearm. So to be completely honest, it is kind of hard to get everything set up and in place perfectly without something else falling off. So just be aware that it's a little taxing to get all the armor on and the weapons in hand and have everything stay in place. Just be prepared for a little bit of annoyance there. But once you get everything down, it should stay in place just fine unless you're playing with it like an action figure or it drops off the shelf, of course. But I think it looks really cool, all armed and weaponed up like that. I definitely like the backpack. I think the design coming off the back looks really cool. And there goes the front skirts again, so I'll just leave those off for now. So again, on the leg armor, you do have a little bit of a moving part there, so that kind of flips up like that. And the backpack can swivel up and down the bottom piece here. And the top piece can do the same thing with the thrusters there, so that's all really nice. And there it is with the missiles deployed. And you can raise up the chest and bring down the front flap there if you want to. So it all looks really nice. So let's see how the bazooka looks in hand, and that'll be the last piece. Alright, so as expected, the Hyper Bazooka proves to be the most difficult thing to work with as far as holding onto the weapons. The new hands really don't hold the peg in place at all. So you just kind of have to fudge it, put it up on the shoulder, get it handled a little bit, and that's pretty much all you can do with it as far as posing goes. And you can see the bazooka is pretty heavy. It drags on the shoulder quite a bit. And you can't really hold the bazooka in place with the assault shroud on because it's too high, and it doesn't work very well. So the bazooka is limited as far as what you can do with it. But aside from this pose, what can you really do with the bazooka anyway? So it's not too bad. It does look nice. It's a very beefy looking bazooka, that's for sure, with the extra missiles and stuff on the side. Although it's kind of weird to have two sensors coming on the front and none in the back. I don't really get that design element, but whatever. So there you go. Alright, so let's go ahead and wrap up this review of the Master Grade Duel Gundam Assaultshroud and talk about the few cons and the many positive things of this kit. I believe the Master Grade kit without the Assaultshroud armor is excellent even by itself. The design, the color scheme, everything about the base mobile suit is really fantastic. And even though it's using some of the older seat design stuff, it still works really well. The articulation's good, the color scheme is great, the way the base mobile suit stuff holds together, no parts falling off or anything, it really is a good kit by itself. And then when you add on the cool design of the Assaultshroud armor and the extra weapons and stuff, I think you have a fantastic kit all around, especially for the lower price point. The full armor Unicorn Gundam is a great kit as well, but it's really expensive. I think this is around $60 or so US for the Assaultshroud. And when you pay that money for it, you really get a great kit. It's not quite as extensive as the full armor Unicorn Gundam is as far as extra parts and stuff, but everything works really well and looks nice as well. So it's a lot easier to get this kit set up in a nice pose and stuff than it is with the other heavier kits out there. And I don't have too many of the Master Grades from the Seed line. I have the Strike Freedom Gundam, the red and blue Stray frames, and the Sword Impulse Gundam. So I'm very happy to add a worthy Master Grade to the lineup from Seed. And it helps me look forward to the Blitz Gundam and the other, was it Buster Gundam, I think, coming out soon in Master Grade form. So I definitely want to check those out when they do come out. So there aren't too many bad things about this kit overall. Just how the Assaultshroud armor attaches for the front and back skirts. They don't stay on very well. And of course, I always usually have issues with the hands. They don't hold the weapons perfectly like I think they should. It seems like it's difficult for Bandai to find a good way to do that. But it does work okay, especially with the rifle. It holds pretty well. And the bazooka, you can finagle into place and make it stay there. So it's not horrible. I think the design of the kit is really nice. It's very easy to get all the extra armor on and off. The shoulders take the most effort because they actually go in between stuff and clasp it in place that way. But the legs, the waist armor, the lower arms, and the backpack, that's all real easy to get in place and take off. And I guess I would have changed the color scheme of the Assaultshroud armor, make it a darker color, not such a baby blue or something, but overall it's not so bad. But again, the kit looks really nice to me. I like the bulk added with the Assaultshroud stuff, especially in the backpack and the front of the chest. But I still do like the Master Grade even without the armor on it. Either way, it's a great kit. It's a really fun build as well, and the Assaultshroud armor is fun to play with too. So definitely a worthwhile kit to pick up for many reasons. I would highly recommend it to anybody who's a fan of Seed or who needs a new Master Grade on their shelf. And I'll be back soon with some high grade reviews. I've got the Zydra and a lot of the high grade Seed kits to look at as well. And hopefully I'll be bringing you the review for the Master Grade Age 1 Normal. So stay tuned for those. Thanks a lot for watching. Give me a comment down below, like if you do, and please subscribe to my channel. And I will see you soon.